Introduction. I'm mad and I'm frustrated. It's so frustrating to see lies and myths continually perpetuated in the fitness industry. It's no wonder that people can't see long-lasting success when it comes to losing weight. If you had to succeed on bad information, what are the chances of you losing the weight and actually keeping it off? Well, it's pretty unlikely considering that research shows that 5 years after losing weight, people will gain 80% of the weight loss back. This means that if someone lost 30 pounds, 5 years later, they would have gained back 24 of those pounds. So should we just accept our fate? Why even try in the first place if we're just set up to gain the weight back that we worked so hard to lose? I say no. We shouldn't just give up. You first and foremost must have the right knowledge to be able to act upon it. Most people are simply losing weight blindly, and this is why I believe statistics like the one I just shared exist. After reading this book, though, you're not going to have to worry about that. You can confidently lose weight knowing that you're not just going to be another statistic. So if you're ready to start learning the correct way to go about things, let's not waste another second.
Chapter 1. Hardly anyone focuses on this, and that's why failure is high. When it comes to losing weight, the only thing that matters is creating a caloric deficit. Period. End of discussion. People try to make carbs the enemy, talk about blood sugar, or mention fat cells to be the main problem. These things are more so a distraction to keep you focused on something other than the main thing. Imagine if people only talked about creating a caloric deficit. It would be hard to sell you on the latest and greatest diet or workout gizmo because you wouldn't need it. You'd already be successful. That's not how things go, though. Instead, you're told carbs are the problem, so you go low carb. It doesn't work, so you're left wondering why you failed and what you should try instead. Then you hear that your body isn't absorbing the nutrients that you're consuming, so you need to go on a plant-based diet. On and on the cycle goes. Really, though, we don't need to make fitness any more complicated than it needs to be. The concept of how weight loss occurs is pretty simple. Your body uses energy. When you eat food, you're giving your body energy. Your body expends energy to survive. When you consume more energy, food, than your body needs, the excess gets stored as fat, caloric surplus. Therefore, what do you think happens when you consume less energy than your body needs? That's right. You create a caloric deficit, and your body burns fat to get the additional energy that it needs. There you have it. Things really are that simple. If people would just focus on that, I do believe there would be more long-term success when it comes to weight loss. Yet hardly anyone does, and you see how many people are actually successful long-term with their fitness goals. So if a caloric deficit is the only thing that matters, why do all of these different diet plans exist? Well, I believe that a lot of it has to do with money. Consider all of the different food companies that exist. Do most of them care about your health? No, they definitely don't. They care about making a profit. This essentially means companies are getting paid to make our health worse. Let that sink in for a second. People get paid to make their products addicting so that we'll keep on coming back for more. That is just crazy to me. So these companies cause health problems and make us overweight, which paves the way for other companies to try and fix this problem. The problem is, a lot of the solutions provided to us are short-term, which allows the cycle to continue. The reason why most diet solutions are short-term is because they simply aren't practical. What I mean by this is that most diets are too difficult to maintain for a long period of time. Do you really think you'd be able to eat 500 to 1,000 calories per day consistently, like extreme diets would have you do? Is it possible for you to eat a low amount of carbs or fat and never cave? Of course, we already know the answer to this. If you've ever tried a diet and failed, this was likely the reason why. Your game plan simply didn't have longevity built into it. Therefore, you must take that into consideration if you want to have lasting success. Every diet is sneaky. So you've already learned that a caloric deficit is the only thing that matters. You've also learned that long-term consistency is what matters most. However, people who go on low-carb diets or liquid diets do still lose weight. So why is that? Well, as it turns out, All diets have the same end goal in mind, which is to get you to lose weight. That's pretty obvious, but the only way a diet can get someone to lose weight is by getting the person in a caloric deficit. Therefore, every diet is simply a different disguise to help you create a caloric deficit. Most people never realize this. A low-carb diet creates a caloric deficit by lowering one of the macronutrients from which you can eat, carbs. Since you can't eat carbs, this will thereby lower the overall amount of calories you consume and hopefully be enough to put you in a deficit. If you try intermittent fasting, you'll be eating less meals overall per day. Cutting meals will lower the overall amount of calories you're consuming in an effort to put you in a deficit. If you eat clean, these clean foods will generally contain less calories than processed foods, thereby lowering the overall amount of calories that you eat. So do you see how everything is essentially working towards the same goal? Everyone gets so caught up in the best way to lose weight when that really doesn't even matter if we're not talking about creating a deficit in a way that's easy to consistently maintain. People can talk about the amazing health benefits of plant-based or the powerful effects of ketosis all day long. None of it matters without thinking about human nature. As humans, we like to enjoy the foods that we eat. If people only followed diet plans with boring foods, how long do you think that would last? Clearly, it wouldn't last very long at all. So if a caloric deficit is all that matters and every diet tries to achieve that goal anyways, why not lose weight in a way that you want to? If you're able to create a deficit in a way that's enjoyable and sustainable for you, then nothing else matters. People can talk to you all day long about the health benefits of this or that diet, and you don't have to focus on any of that. Your main focus is creating a deficit and doing so in a way that doesn't make you go insane. You might be wondering how you can create a deficit in a way that you barely even notice, or how many calories you need to eat to create a deficit. And don't worry, we'll get to that later on. For now, though, we need to go over the good, bad, and ugly when it comes to weight loss. Chapter 2. The Good, Bad, and Ugly of Weight Loss. There were once 3 triplets named Ashley, Heather, and Danielle. Growing up, they never learned much about proper eating habits or exercise. Their parents simply didn't know any better through no fault of their own. So they grew up eating whatever their parents provided them. That would sometimes include fast food meals, and they of course had plenty of chips and other such snacks around the house. The sisters eventually grew up and graduated and went their separate ways. Since they weren't in any type of athletics programs anymore, exercise fell to the wayside. They continued on with their normal eating patterns similar to what they knew when they grew up. They simply didn't think much about how they ate. However, now it has been 9 years since graduation, and the sisters have gained a little more weight over the years than they would have liked. Their 10-year high school reunion is about a year away, and the sisters want to shape up for the reunion. So naturally, they decide to go on diets, and they decide to make things a little bit more interesting. A little friendly competition never hurt anyone, right? The sisters decide to pool some money together. The sister that has lost the most weight by the day of the reunion will receive all of the prize money they have put together. Now it's on. This isn't just about losing weight anymore. Each of the sisters are eager to prove that they are capable of winning the competition. Each sister comes up with their own strategy to lose the most weight for the competition. Ashley's strategy. Ashley has always been the most ambitious and adventurous of the 3 sisters. She likes to dive headfirst into things without much thought or planning. She usually just goes and says she'll figure things out along the way. Her plan is a rather simple one. She's going to eat 800 calories a day. Her plan to achieve this is going to be an intense form of intermittent fasting. She'll fast for 16 hours every day and have an 8-hour feeding window. During that 8-hour feeding window, she'll consume 2 meals consisting of 400 calories each. Ashley isn't sure how long she'll be able to do this, but that doesn't matter to her. She just wants to lose as much weight as quickly as she can. Once she loses that initial weight, she can always make some adjustments later as needed. Heather's strategy. Heather is the type of person who loves to do a ton of research before diving into anything. She wants to see plenty of other people who have gotten results before she decides on what her main plan of action is going to be. After doing her proper due diligence, Heather has decided on doing a low-carb diet. Based on her research, Heather knows that this diet can be a little controversial, but the results don't lie. She's seen plenty of people online who have successfully lost weight with this diet plan. She also knows that she grew up on pastries, cereals, chips, and candy bars that did her no good and led her to being the weight she's at currently. She's convinced that if she can pull this off, she'll win the competition. It won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. She fully believes that carbs are the root issue for most people's weight issues. People need to just get comfortable with limiting these types of foods if they want to see success. Heather decides that no more than 5% of her overall calories will come from carbs. Aside from that, she'll stick to her normal 3 meals per day and call it good. Danielle's strategy. Danielle isn't the overly competitive type. She wanted to lose some weight, but she didn't care too much for the competition. Her sisters really wanted her to participate, so she decided to join in on the fun. Danielle has always been the most realistic of the 3 sisters. She doesn't like to waste her time on things that she knows won't last. So she decides to go with a simple strategy. She's not going to eliminate anything in particular from her diet. She's not going to make any drastic changes. She knows there are some things she needs to eat less of, so she's going to focus on making some improvements to the way she's already currently eating. Her approach is more of the slow and steady type of strategy. She's not going to lose a crazy amount of weight each and every week. Instead, though, any weight she does lose, she's going to ensure that it does not come back. The first 2 weeks. The first 2 weeks of the competition are in the books, and so far, both Ashley and Heather have gotten off to strong starts. Ashley has lost close to 12 pounds already, and Heather isn't far behind, having lost 9 pounds. Danielle, on the other hand, has barely lost any weight. Things haven't been cakewalks for Ashley or Heather thus far, but they're both happy with the progress they made thus far. 6 weeks into the competition. Now the sisters are a month and a half into the competition. Ashley and Heather have had some tough times getting used to their new ways of eating, but they've been able to fight through for the sake of trying to win this competition. They both have lost similar amounts of weight thus far. Meanwhile, Danielle was trailing behind, but she hasn't found what she's been doing to be very difficult at all. In fact, it doesn't even feel like she's on a diet at all. 6 months into the competition. Now some significant time has passed in the competition. Ashley has had to change up her strategy because it was just too hard for her to keep up with her fasting protocol and the low overall amount of calories. She felt hungry during much of her fast, and she decided that winning a competition isn't worth her sanity. So she decided to make a shift to a paleo style of eating and see how that will go for her. Heather, on the other hand, has all but dropped out of the competition. Things were good in the beginning. Her motivation was high, and she was dropping weight quickly. However, she found that eating low carb was kind of hard to maintain with all the temptation lurking around every corner. Coworkers bringing donuts to work, or social events with a bunch of delicious food happened more often than she thought. It was just too much temptation for her to not give in. She's already gained back most of the weight she's lost, and at this point, there's no way she feels like she can win, so why even bother trying? She figures she should at least enjoy what she eats and forget about winning the competition. Danielle has still steadily been trucking along. It's 6 months in, and she's only lost 25 pounds. However, she's thoroughly impressed with the progress she's been able to make thus far. She sees no reason why she won't be able to continue what she's doing beyond the competition. It's her competition to lose at this point in the race. Lessons from the competition. This competition amongst the triplets may have been fictional, but I wanted to illustrate the real problems that people encounter during their weight loss journeys. There are so many people out there who can relate to the diet journeys of Ashley and Heather, and maybe you can as well. For both of them, things weren't exactly easy in the beginning, but they were able to make it through due to high motivation levels. However, as time went on, day-to-day life began to take its toll. There were just too many social events and too much good food to be able to resist temptation. They eventually gave in, and it wasn't because of a lack of willpower or anything else like that. It simply wasn't a sustainable plan for the long haul. So when Heather gave up on her diet plan, she started gaining a lot of the weight she originally lost back. Meanwhile, for Danielle, there wasn't anything overly exciting about what she was doing. It was easy for her to maintain because it was similar to how she was already eating anyways. Her weight loss numbers were by no means eye-popping early on in the competition. However, as time went on, those numbers continued to add up over time. Before long, she had a solid lead in first place, and it was going to be hard to stop her. She would of course go on to win the competition and live a healthy life long after the competition. I wanted to use this story to help illustrate the good, bad, and ugly of how weight loss can be. Most people may not try to lose weight as part of a competition, but I'm sure you or someone you know can relate to Ashley's or Heather's journey. Most people will start off super excited and motivated to make new changes in their lives. This is a good thing. However, life starts to take over. Motivation will not always stay high. There will be times when you'll have to make a decision on what to eat when you're hungry. You might cave and eat something that goes against your diet protocol. Maybe you go to a party and there's some delicious food there. If it's early on in your diet, then you might be able to resist temptation. However, if you've been eating an extremely low amount of calories for a while, then you just might give in. In the story, all of the sisters had the best of intentions, just like most people who are trying to lose weight do. It really doesn't have much to do with the person in most cases. It usually has more to do with the plan being poor to begin with. That's why my goal with this book is to give you a plan that makes you feel like Danielle. I want you to be able to lose weight at a pace that feels comfortable to you. It should feel like you don't even notice that you're in a caloric deficit. Over time, you'll look at the scale and be surprised at just how far you've come. Of course, being able to do this takes some patience. Another reason why people like Heather and Ashley fail is because they're not patient enough to see results. They act as if they want to reach their goal body weight in under a week, and this is a recipe for disaster. Slow and steady will definitely win the race when it comes to reaching your end body weight and maintaining it. However, before I get into more specific guidelines as to how you should be eating, there are a couple of other things I need to cover first. The first thing you might be wondering is how many calories you should be eating in the first place. Creating a caloric deficit sounds great and all, but that really does you no good if you don't know how much you should be eating. So let's go ahead and dive into that right now. Chapter 3. How many calories do you need to consume to create a caloric deficit? When it comes to losing weight, you know you need to create a caloric deficit. There are no questions about it. However, you're probably wondering what exactly that looks like for you. Just how many calories do you need to consume on a daily basis in order for you to lose weight? Well, I'm glad you asked. What's your equilibrium? So if you consume more than you burn off, you gain weight. If you consume less than you burn off, you lose weight. If you eat right in the middle of that, you'll maintain your current weight. The question, of course, becomes, how much do you need to eat to maintain your baseline? We can then use this number to help us determine how much to eat to create a caloric deficit. We're going to use a very simple formula to help us determine our equilibrium. Body weight, in pounds, times 13 equals maintenance calories. For example, if you weigh 210 pounds, then you would simply take 210 and multiply it by 13 to get 2,730. Therefore, 2,730 calories per day is going to be our baseline number. In this case, if the 210-pound person eats right at this number, they will maintain their current body weight. If they eat less than this number, then they will lose weight. If they eat more than 2,730 calories per day, then they will gain weight. How many calories below equilibrium should you consume? So in the example used above, the person knows they should consume less than 2,730 calories per day if they want to lose weight. That's great and all, but that sounds really general. Should the person just consume 2,729 calories then and call it a day? They'll be in a caloric deficit, so they'll lose weight, right? The answer to that is technically yes. However,
the amount of weight lost will be so minuscule that it won't even be noticed. So how much of a deficit should you create where you're seeing noticeable weight loss, but not so much that it's hard to maintain? Well, as it turns out, there are approximately 3,500 calories in 1 pound of fat. This means that if you want to lose 1 pound of pure body fat, you need to create a caloric deficit of 3,500 calories. If you want to spread that out evenly throughout the week, that comes out to a total of 500 calories per day. Therefore, you must create a caloric deficit of 500 calories per day in order to lose 1 pound of fat per week. In the example that we've been using, that comes out to a total of 2,230 calories per day. Of course, losing 1 pound per week may not sound like a lot. You may have heard of someone losing 10 pounds during their first couple of weeks on a low-carb diet. Yes, this does happen with low-carb diets, and it's because every gram of carbohydrate holds a minimum of 3 grams of water. This means that if you cut carbs, you're also cutting even more water. Water obviously isn't weightless, and thus how people lose so much weight so quickly on the scale. Losing water weight quickly isn't what you're after, though. You want to burn real fat and keep it off for life. Once the water weight is lost, these people are left with the harsh reality that they'll have to continue eating a low amount of carbs if they want continued success. That's a tough battle to continually fight. It's far better to stick with a moderate pace that you can actually sustain. Over time, you'll be amazed at just how far you've come. Don't fall for this myth. Now, there is something that I must warn you about. Many people are aware of creating a 500-calorie deficit, but they mess up with the execution. They believe that if they cut out 500 calories per day, that they'll start losing weight. This is not necessarily true. Cutting out 500 calories per day could be enough to put you in a deficit, but there's no guarantee of that happening. You must go 500 calories below maintenance if you want to lose 1 pound per week. Let me explain the difference. With the above example, the person's maintenance calories are 2,730. This person must eat 500 calories below that number in order to lose weight. However, let's say the person is currently consuming 2,930 calories per day. This individual is currently consuming more than they are burning off and are therefore in a caloric surplus. If this person eats 500 less calories from 2,930, they'll be consuming 2,430 calories per day. This will be enough to start losing weight, but it won't be 1 pound per week. If this person wanted to lose 1 pound per week, they would need to eat 700 less calories per day, not 500 less. This can make things a bit challenging because you might not know how many calories it is that you're consuming each and every day. What you don't want to do is assume that you're currently eating at maintenance calories. You could very well be in a small enough surplus that it's hard to notice. If you only cut 500 calories, it may not be enough for you to start losing 1 pound per week. This is where it starts to become pretty obvious as to why people can fall into this trap. Of course, you're not going to exactly know how many calories you're consuming right now unless you track it. You could just subtract 500 from your calculated maintenance calories and go from there. However, as I'll discuss later on, it is a good idea to figure out how much you're currently eating. For now, let's talk a little bit more about the formula. Why this formula? You might have also noticed just how simple this formula really is. All you have to do is take your current body weight and multiply it by 13. You might be wondering if that's really all there is to it. Maybe you've seen other calorie calculating formulas that were more complicated. And yes, more complicated ones certainly do exist. The thing you have to understand is that no formula is going to be perfect. You would need to go into a science lab and get your resting metabolic rate tested by breathing into a machine for 10 minutes to get an accurate number. Everything else is just a best guess. So if everything is just taking an educated best guess, why not keep the formula simple? It's not going to take you that long for you to figure out a baseline number of calories that you need to be eating on a daily basis. Let's say, for instance, that someone right now weighs 185 pounds. they would multiply 185 by 13 to get 2,405. After subtracting 500 from that number, their total daily calories comes out to 1,905. Now, the best way to know if that number is accurate or not is to eat that many calories and see what happens. If the person loses 1 pound, then they know that they're eating the right amount of calories. If the person didn't lose any weight, then that number they consumed is their actual maintenance calories. If they gained half a pound, then they would need to cut their calories by 750 from what they ate. If they lost half a pound, then they would need to cut back another 250 calories from what the formula originally said. You can use the data from how much weight you did or didn't lose to help inform you as to how you should eat the upcoming week. No matter what formula you use, you're likely going to spend 2 to 3 weeks tweaking your calories until you hit things just right to find your specific sweet spot. This may sound like a pain, but it's not that bad in reality. Scientists have to use trial and error to make discoveries all of the time. If you want a foolproof method, you can always go to a lab and get your resting metabolic rate tested. However, I don't think that's practical for everyone to go out and do, so this method is something you can do on your own for free. You just have to be patient with yourself in the beginning. The start of your weight loss journey is the testing phase. You're really just trying to gain your bearings. Once you do, you can then take off and go full speed ahead. Remember, this isn't an overnight thing you're trying to achieve. Your health and fitness is something that requires maintenance year-round for as long as you live. Your body is not like a car where you only have to get the oil change occasionally or get new tires every 30,000 miles. No, this is something that you have to keep up with every single day, so all you're doing in the beginning is fine-tuning things. Of course, you may be wondering how you can know how many calories you're consuming on a daily basis. So let's talk about how you can do that. How do you know how much you're actually eating? One of the trickiest parts of this equation is knowing how many calories you're actually consuming. For instance, you may know that you need to eat 1,905 calories per day in order to lose weight. So you eat that many calories every day for a week, and then nothing changes. So what gives? How do you know what the problem was? Is 1,905 not the correct amount of calories that you need to eat? Did you miscalculate how many calories you ate? Was your weight just fluctuating when you stepped on the scale? There are definitely a lot of different variables at play, which is why it's important that you stay patient. Oftentimes, people get too frustrated too quickly and it causes them to quit, when in reality, it likely would have only taken another week or two of data to figure out how to get on track. So one of the factors that can throw you off is miscalculating the number of calories that you consume. The biggest problem people have when it comes to counting calories is that people tend to underestimate the amount of calories that they consume. As you can probably guess, this can lead to a lot of frustration pretty quickly. The sad truth is that most people just don't realize how many calories are in the foods that we consume on a regular basis. For instance, a typical can of soda contains around 150 calories. These calories are of course empty calories that will offer you no nutritional value, and that's a big deal when you can only consume a limited number of calories every day. This can definitely add up if you drink 1 soda per day, but you might not really feel the impact of these calories. That's why it's important to be as objective as possible when it comes to tracking your calories. If you're ever unsure of how many calories something contains, be sure to purposefully overestimate the amount. So for instance, if a food label says the food you're eating contains 400 calories per serving, and you're not sure exactly how close you were to 1 serving, go ahead and add 15% to the number just to be on the safe side. 15% of 400 is 60, so you would add 60 to 400 for a total of 460 calories. This may not seem like a fun thing to do, but it will pay off in the long run. Think about it. You're either consuming less calories than you should, which will cause you to reach your goal faster, or you'll stay on track instead of over-consuming. Either way, that's better than eating too much and getting frustrated because you're not making any progress. So rule number 1 is when in doubt, overestimate by 15%. The second thing you should do is invest in a food scale if you don't already have one. This will allow you to accurately know how much it is you're eating. So if, for instance, a food label says that one serving is 90 grams, a food scale will allow you to know just how many grams you're eating. However, the one downside is that your food scale isn't going to be with you everywhere that you go. This generally won't be a big deal because you'll be able to use the food scale for most of your meals. For instance, you can calculate how many calories your lunch has at home before you bring it to work. However, what if you go out to a restaurant to eat a meal? What do you do in instances such as these? Well, some restaurants will have nutritional information on their menu or online. This makes things super simple because you'll straight up be told how many calories a certain dish contains. At other places, though, you might not be so lucky. You're likely going to have to do an online search and see approximately how many calories the foods you're eating contain. From there, it's a matter of guessing the portion size that you ate. This can be tricky to do as it's a skill that will come with time, but just remember to fall back onto rule number 1. When in doubt, overestimate. At this point, it really comes down to making sure you actually have a method of keeping track of things. There are some great apps you can use, but you don't have to by any means. If you're more old school, you can keep track of things on pen and paper or with a note app on your phone. Simply record what you ate and how many calories each food item contained. Ultimately, counting calories is boring. It's not a fun thing to do, but the data you gain from it is extremely important. The caloric deficit is the only thing that matters, and how can you be sure you're achieving that if you're not measuring your caloric intake? There's really no way to know for sure unless you track it. So be patient with yourself, and if you fall off track, just get back up and keep moving. Don't let 3 days of not tracking your calories turn into 1 month. What about tracking macros? The other thing you might be wondering about is if you should track your macros. There are 3 main macronutrients: protein, carbs, and fat. Each one plays a different role, but should you track how much of each macro you're consuming in addition to calories? My answer to that is no. Don't get me wrong, you can definitely track your macros if you want to, but you don't have to. The reason why I advise against it is because it's only going to add an extra step to what you have to track. It's going to make things harder than it has to be. This can lead to overwhelm and ultimately you giving up on the practice altogether. That's why it's better if you instead keep things as simple as possible and only worry about tracking your calories. Ultimately, your caloric intake is what will determine if you're successful or not. You might think that it's important to track your macros to ensure you have a balanced amount of protein, carbs, and fat. That's definitely not a bad reason. Again, though, if you're eating the correct amount of calories and making good food choices, you should end up with a properly balanced amount of macros. Yes, things like getting enough protein on a daily basis is important, but that doesn't need to be your main focus. Keep your eyes on the target of daily calories. If you notice that you're still hungry a lot of the time, or that you're potentially losing muscle mass, then you're going to want to take a closer look at your current protein intake. In the beginning, though, don't worry about it. You can always track protein intake later on if you want to, once you're in the habit of tracking your calories. Should you track calories burned from exercise? The final piece of the calorie equation is exercise. When you move your body, you burn calories. So how do you factor that into your overall caloric expenditure intake? Well, remember how most people underestimate the amount of calories they eat? When it comes to exercise, the same type of problem exists. People tend to overestimate the amount of calories they burn from exercise. This can create an obvious problem. Let's say you estimated that you burned 600 calories from your workout, when in reality, you only burned 300. Now you think you can eat an additional 300 calories and still stay on pace to lose weight. Imagine this mistake happening every time you work out. Then when you step on the scale, you get frustrated because the number on the scale isn't going down. This is why you have to be smart when it comes to factoring in calories burned from exercise. For instance, if you do a cardio workout on a treadmill and the machine says you burn 300 calories, apply the same type of rule for counting calories from food when you're unsure. Go ahead and subtract 10% from the total the machine gives you. So in this case, that would come out to 270 calories burned. not 300. The reason you want to do this is because cardio machines aren't the most accurate pieces of equipment in the world. They can be off by a little bit, so by subtracting 10%, you're taking matters into your own hands to ensure you're staying on track. You could then add in the 270 calories burned to your overall caloric intake for the day, which would allow you to consume more calories. This is definitely a plus when you have to restrict calories in an effort to lose weight. However, what if you perform a resistance training workout? How do you calculate the calories burned from that? The reality is that it's going to be hard to gauge how many calories you burn from lifting weights. With cardio, things can be easier because you could be performing the cardio on a machine that would tell you an approximation of how many calories you burned. You have no such data when it comes to lifting weights. Therefore, the room for error in overestimating is far greater. This is why you ultimately shouldn't factor in calories burned from lifting weights. Only stick to what can be easily measured. With resistance training, there are too many variables at play that can affect how many calories it is that you burn. This would include things such as how much weight you lift, the amount of reps, how long your rest periods are, the duration of your workout, and the intensity of the workout, among other things. Of course, you may have a device that can tell you how many calories you burn during your workouts. I caution you about using these for tracking calories burned from lifting weights because the measurement can be drastically off. This can lead to more issues than problems that it solves. With a cardio machine, it's different because it can track the distance you ran and use that to base its calculation on. With resistance training, there are simply too many variables at play, which makes things risky. This is why I recommend only tracking calories from cardio and not weightlifting. If you really want to use your fitness device to track your weight workouts, then do so, but keep a close eye on things. See if after factoring in calories burned from weight workouts, if you're still losing weight. If you are, then you can continue to use the device because it is giving you an accurate number. If you're not losing weight, then just stick with tracking calories from cardio to keep things simple. Chapter 4. What kind of exercise burns the most calories? The theme of this book is burning off more calories than you consume. There's really two ways you can go about doing that. The first is to eat less, thereby lowering your overall caloric intake to help you create a deficit. The other way is to increase the amount that you exercise. This will allow you to burn more calories. Of course, you don't have to pick between one or the other. You can use both to your advantage to help you create a caloric deficit. The question is, what's the most efficient way to exercise to ensure that you're burning the most calories in the least amount of time? This chapter will help you determine the best form of exercise for you. What is the most efficient way to burn calories from exercise? When it comes to exercise, you really have two different options: cardio and lifting weights. They each have their own pros and cons. If your goal is to lose weight, then you might not really care too much about lifting weights, but you definitely should. Resistance training helps to promote lean muscle mass. Since muscle mass is more dense than fat, it takes more energy to maintain. This means that your body will have to burn more calories in order to maintain the muscle mass that you have. This is a good thing because it allows you to have an easier time creating a caloric deficit because you're burning more calories per day. In regards to cardio, it will help you improve your cardiovascular health in addition to allowing you to burn off more calories overall. For weight loss purposes, the main benefit of cardio that you're going to care about is the calorie burn. Both resistance training and cardio can take advantage of something known as excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, aka the afterburn effect, which I'll talk more about later on. For now, though, you might be wondering what type of exercise you should do. Should you perform cardio or lift weights? Well, why not take advantage of both? Let's first take a deep dive into cardio. How should you perform cardio? When it comes to creating a caloric deficit, the goal is to burn the most amount of calories in the least amount of time. The way that you do that with cardio is to go at max effort in regards to your current fitness level. The reason for this is because sprinting is the most intense form of cardio that you can do. Sprinting is a form of anaerobic exercise, which means without oxygen. Your body uses stored glycogen to help it perform anaerobic exercises, as opposed to aerobic exercises, which do use oxygen. Sprinting will allow you to cover a longer distance in a shorter period of time, and you'll burn more calories overall when compared to something such as walking. Of course, sprinting isn't purely sunshine and rainbows. One downside to it is that you can't sustain it for a long period of time, like you can with walking. That's why you should then follow a sprint with a period of low-intensity cardio, such as walking. This will then allow your body to recover from the intense sprints that it just performed. Once your body has recuperated, you can then go back to the high-intensity sprints. You can then continue to alternate between high-intensity and low-intensity cardio until your workout is complete. This type of cardio may sound familiar, and if it does, that's because I'm describing high-intensity interval training, HIIT. This style of cardio allows you to burn the most amount of calories in the least amount of time. Not only that, but it allows you to take advantage of the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption, EPOC, that I mentioned earlier. Essentially, this means that you'll continue to burn additional calories even after your workout is finished. Research estimates that this effect can burn up to an additional 6 to 15% of the total amount of calories burned from your workout. So if you performed an intense cardio workout and burned 350 calories, the excess post-exercise oxygen consumption effect would allow you to burn an additional 21 to 52.5 calories. That may not seem like a lot, but consider if you did this cardio workout 3 times per week. That would be an additional 63 to 157.5 calories per week, or 252 to 630 extra calories per month. That's definitely not something to overlook, and it's all thanks to choosing to perform an intense form of cardio. So, how do you go about performing this cardio workout? It really all comes down to your current fitness level. You may not feel comfortable sprinting or be able to maintain an intense pace for a prolonged period of time. That's totally okay. The good news is that you can adjust this workout to meet you where you're at. For instance, if you're only able to run at a speed of 6.5 miles per hour, then go at that pace for your sprints. If you're only able to maintain 6.5 miles per hour for 20 seconds, then only run for 20 seconds before slowing down. Then during your cooldown portion, walk at a pace that is comfortable to you. You can make the duration of this portion as long as you need. You want to be able to recover enough to go at a max effort for the intense portion. So if you need to walk for 2 minutes before you can go at 6.5 miles per hour for another 20 seconds, then do so. As your cardiovascular fitness starts to improve, you can adjust things as you see fit. You could increase your speed to something greater than 6.5 miles per hour. You could decrease the amount of time you spend during the walking phase. You could also increase the overall duration of the workout. There are a lot of different options you have at your disposal. The important thing is to be patient with yourself. It could take a couple of HIIT workouts in order for you to get fully comfortable with it. You may think you're capable of sprinting for a longer duration than you really can, or whatever else. After a couple of workouts, though, you'll know your limits and you can start to gradually get better as time goes on. Here's a sample breakdown of what this would look like. Run at 6.5 miles per hour for 20 seconds. Walk at a pace of 3 miles per hour for 2 minutes. Repeat for a total of 10 cycles. Walking is good too. High-intensity interval training may be the most efficient way to burn calories. However, that doesn't mean that it'll be perfect for you. You may not enjoy doing it, or it may be too challenging for you at the moment. Regardless of what your current fitness level is, though, an easy thing you can do is walk more. Walking is an easy way to increase calorie burn, and it will provide you with a lot of benefits. Research shows that individuals who average 8,000 steps per day are at a 51% lower risk for all-cause mortality when compared to individuals who average 4,000 steps per day. This is absolutely huge, and it can be achieved with something so simple. Back in the day, this wasn't a hard thing for the typical person to achieve on a consistent basis. However, We live in a different era in the modern age. Technology has drastically changed things. There are a lot more jobs that involve working on a computer. With this comes more and more people who end up sitting at a desk for an extended period of time. It's no wonder that it has become such a challenge for people to hit 8,000 to 10,000 steps per day. If you work a desk job, then I'm sure you're well aware of this. You have to be proactive to ensure that you get into that 8,000 to 10,000 mark. So let's say you're averaging 4,000 steps per day. What are some things you can do to increase your overall step count and thus help you burn some more calories? Well, the first thing you're going to want to do is take things one step at a time. What I mean by that is, you don't want to immediately jump from 4,000 to 8,000 steps per day. That can be too overwhelming and cause you to give up entirely. Instead, just try to boost your average to 4,500. Maintain that for a couple of weeks and then go up to 5,000 per day, and so on and so forth. When you're starting out and trying to bump up your average by 500, you don't have to go too far out of your way to achieve it. You could take a 10-minute walk before work. You could walk during your break at work, or you could walk for 10 minutes after work. Yes, it will take a little bit of extra effort, but over time it will add up tremendously. On average, a mile will consist of roughly 2,000 to 2,250 steps. To achieve an extra 500 steps, that's approximately 1/4 of a mile. Depending on what your pace is, you can easily achieve that in 5 to 10 minutes. It's all about establishing small habits so that it becomes easier to form bigger ones. Eventually, you'll be able to get up to that ultimate step count. That's a big deal considering that walking a mile burns approximately 100 calories. This means if you go from an average of 4,000 to 8,000 steps per day, you'd be burning an additional 200 calories or so. That number could increase to around 300 calories if you eventually work your way up to 10,000 steps per day. Imagine burning an extra 200 calories per day from doing something as simple as walking. Every week, that's an additional 1,400 calories, give or take. Over the course of a month, that comes out to 5,600 extra calories. That's no small matter, and it is possible to achieve. You just have to find gaps during your day where you can get some extra steps in. For instance, you could walk around your house during commercial breaks of your TV show. If you need to take a 5-minute brain break at work, go ahead and walk around for a bit instead of scrolling on your phone. Park farther away everywhere you go. This is something I personally do, and it annoys my wife to no end, but I know that it adds up in the long run. Before long, hitting a certain step count will feel like second nature to you. Until then, you have to become more aware of how many steps you're taking to ensure you're going in the right direction. You can buy a cheap pedometer if you need to. Smartwatches will have pedometers built in. You can also use an app on your phone to keep track of your steps. Do whatever is easiest for you, but tracking will help you achieve success with this. Otherwise, how would you know if you're improving? Resistance training to burn the most calories. When it comes to lifting weights, what's the most efficient way to go about it? Well, first and foremost, it all comes down to exercise selection. Men love to train their biceps. However, the biceps are a small muscle group, which means that it's not going to require as much energy to train your biceps as opposed to a larger muscle group such as your quads. When an exercise targets only one muscle group such as the biceps, it's known as an isolation exercise. Exercises that involve more than one muscle group are known as compound exercises. An example of a compound exercise will be a chin-up, as it involves muscles in the back as well as the biceps. If you want to burn the most amount of calories in the least amount of time, you'll want to use compound lifts. Since compound exercises target more muscle groups, they'll burn more calories. They also place a much larger demand on the body than isolation exercises, which is also why they burn more calories. The kinds of exercises that you do aren't the only factors at play. You also have to consider how long of a rest period you're taking and how heavy the weight is that you're lifting. The heavier the weight is, the lower the reps will be. You'll also need to take a longer rest period in between sets to recuperate for your next set. The lower the weight is, the the higher the amount of reps is that you'll be able to complete. You can also take a shorter rest period in between each set. For instance, let's say you could bench press 225 pounds for 5 reps, and you take 2 minutes of rest in between sets. You could also lift 150 pounds on the bench press for 15 reps, and take 30 seconds of rest in between sets. So which one is going to burn the most calories? Should you stick with the higher reps and shorter rest periods? Or should you go with the heavier weights? The reality is that higher reps and shorter rest periods will ultimately have a longer duration of intensity, thus allowing you to burn more calories overall. However, you don't want to focus solely on light weights. The reason for this is because heavy weights will allow you to add strength, which can help with building new muscle mass. This is why you really should incorporate both as part of your workout routine. The primary goal of lifting weights is to help build strength and muscle mass. Yes, even with the goal being fat loss, you should still care about this because it will ultimately help you reach your fat loss goals. The fact that lifting weights burns calories is a bonus. This means you can help promote new muscle growth while burning calories to help you lose weight. Weightlifting routine to burn calories and promote muscle growth. The following workout consists of 3 different parts: a push workout, pull workout, and a legs workout. You'll essentially cycle through each of the workouts every time you lift weights. The cool thing about this routine is you can simply match it to the number of times you want to work out per week. For instance, here's what your schedule could look like if you wanted to lift 3 times per week. Monday, push workout. Wednesday, pull workout. Friday, legs workout. Workout schedule if you want to work out 4 times per week. Monday, push workout. Tuesday, pull workout. Thursday, legs workout. Friday, push workout. Following Monday, pull workout. Workout schedule if you want to work out 5 times per week. Monday, push workout. Tuesday, pull workout. Wednesday, leg workout. Thursday, push workout. Friday, pull workout. Following Monday, leg workout. So essentially, you just rotate between each of the 3 workouts every time you go to the gym. If you lift 4 or 5 times per week, the specific workout you do on a specific day will change from week to week, and that's totally fine. What matters most is consistency. So pick a number of days that you're able to stick with, and you'll be good to go. Here are the actual workouts. Push workout. Bench press. Dumbbell or barbell. 3 sets, 5 reps, 2 minutes rest after each set. Standing one-arm kettlebell press. 3 sets, 6 reps per arm, 2 minutes rest after each set. Dumbbell one-arm overhead extension. 3 sets, 15 reps per arm, 30 seconds rest after each set. Push-ups, regular or on knees. 3 sets of as many reps as possible, 30 seconds rest after each set. Face pulls, 3 sets, 20 reps, 20 seconds rest after each set. Side crunches, 3 sets, 20 reps per side, 30 seconds rest after each set. Pull workout. Chin-ups, body weight or weighted, or lat pull-downs, 3 sets, 6 reps, 2 minutes rest after each set. One-arm dumbbell row, 3 sets, 6 reps per arm, 2 minutes rest after each set. Standing barbell curls, 3 sets, 6 reps, 90 seconds rest after each set. Reverse dumbbell curls, 3 sets, 10 reps, 45 seconds rest after each set. Bicycle crunches, 3 sets as many reps as possible, 30 seconds rest after each set. Leg workout. Trap bar deadlifts, 3 sets, 5 reps, 2 minutes rest after each set. Bulgarian split squats, 3 sets, 8 reps, 90 seconds rest after each set. Seated hamstring curls, 3 sets, 15 reps, 30 seconds rest after each set. Wall sit holds, 3 sets for as long as possible, 20 seconds rest after each set. Standing calf raise machine, 3 sets, 20 reps, 20 seconds rest after each set. Plank hold, 3 sets for as long as possible, 20 seconds rest after each set. What if I need to work out from home? You may not have access to a gym or have enough home equipment to be able to complete workouts like the ones listed above. That's totally okay. You can still get a lot of benefit out of working out from the comfort of your own home. With bodyweight workouts, you're only going to be using the resistance of your own body weight, so it's important to ensure that the intensity stays high. You're going to have a much harder time of doing that by increasing the resistance. It's instead much easier to keep intensity high by keeping rest periods short. That's why the following body workout is going to be performed via a circuit. A circuit workout is where you complete all of the given exercises one after the other without any rest. You only stop to take a rest once all of the exercises have been completed. This bodyweight workout is going to be split up between two different workouts, an upper body day and a lower body day. You'll simply alternate between the upper body day and the lower body day every time you work out. Here are a few different examples of what that might look like. Sample schedule if you want to work out 3 times per week. Monday, upper body workout. Wednesday, lower body workout. Friday, upper body workout. Following Monday, lower body workout. Sample schedule if you want to work out 4 times per week. Monday, upper body workout. Tuesday, lower body workout. Thursday, upper body workout. Friday, lower body workout. Following Monday, upper body workout. Sample schedule if you want to work out 5 times per week. Monday, upper body workout. Tuesday, lower body workout. Wednesday, upper body workout. Thursday, lower body workout. Friday, upper body workout. Following Monday, lower body workout. And here are the workouts. Upper body workout. Push-ups, regular, on knees, or clapping. Supermans. Mountain climbers. Close grip push-ups. High knees. Jackknifes. Russian twists. Lower body workout. Jump squats. Bodyweight squats. Glute bridges. Wall sit holds. Split squat jumps. Side plank hold, each side. Side lunges. Set a timer and complete each exercise for 20 seconds before moving on to the next exercise. Once all of the exercises are complete, take a rest for 40 seconds and complete for a total of 5 rounds. If you can't complete an exercise for 20 seconds straight during any point in the workout, take that time to rest until the next exercise starts. You can also adjust any of the variables as needed. For example, if you need to make the workout more difficult, you can increase the duration of each exercise from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. You could complete less rounds or take a longer rest after each round if you need to make things easier. The mentality you need to have with working out. Now that we've covered both cardio and weightlifting, it's important to understand how you should approach exercise in general from a mental standpoint. The reality is that it's certainly easier to create a caloric deficit via your diet than from exercise. However, exercise certainly has enough benefits to make it worth the effort. That's the problem, though. You have to make an effort to exercise. When it comes to your nutrition, you're going to eat no matter what. If you haven't worked out in a while, then it can be hard to get into a consistent habit of working out. When you first start out, motivation is high, but oftentimes people bite off more than they can chew. Their motivation soon fades and they stop working out. Take the same approach that I recommended for increasing your step count. So instead of going from 0 workouts per week to 5 workouts per week, just start with something simple, such as 2 workouts per week. If you've never been to a commercial gym before, and the thought of that sounds scary to you, then just stick with the home bodyweight workout given above. 2 quick bodyweight workouts per week might not sound like a lot, but you have to think of things on a bigger scale. You're trying to develop a habit that will last you the rest of your life. So who cares if you have to take 6 months to fully develop that habit? Once you're consistent with 2 workouts per week, you can then bump it up to 3 and then 4 workouts per week. Eventually, the goal would be to do both a weight workout followed by a HIIT cardio workout. For instance, you could do 3 weight workouts per week and then once you finish the weight workout, you would jump into the high-intensity interval training workout. It's all about slowly building up your overall workout volume over time. Don't get too overwhelmed. Just take things one step at a time. Chapter 5. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to how you should eat. As you learned earlier in this book, there are a lot of different ways that you could go about creating a caloric deficit. You also know that most of those ways are bad and aren't going to lead you to long-term success. So what should you do then? What's the best way that you can eat to optimize your chances of getting and staying in a caloric deficit for a prolonged period of time? It doesn't need to be complicated. When it comes to creating a caloric deficit, you really don't want to make things any harder than they need to be. By this point, you know how many calories you need to eat on a daily basis in order to lose weight. Let's say, for the sake of an example, you determine you need to eat 1,940 calories per day to burn fat. Instead of jumping straight into 1,940 calories per day, take some time to determine how many calories you're currently eating. This will be very valuable information, as it will tell you how big of a gap there is between you right now and your daily target. Therefore, when you first start out, you actually shouldn't change anything about the way you're currently eating. Eat exactly as you have been for an entire week. During that time, track everything you're eating and record the calories as well. It's important to do this for 7 days because you might eat differently during the weekends than you do throughout the week. After these 7 days are up, let's say you determine that you are currently eating an average of 2,560 calories per day. This means you need to cut out 620 calories per day in order to reach your goal. You have plenty of different ways that you could go about doing this. What I recommend that you do is look at your current food log for how you ate in the past 7 days. If the last 7 days were a good indication of how you typically eat, then look for ways from that data to see how you can improve. If the 7 days weren't a good indication of how you would usually eat, maybe because you were on vacation or something, then go ahead and track your eating patterns for another week or two. Get as much data as you need because it will be very helpful in the long run. Once you have some good data you can go off of, take a hard look at it and see where you can make some improvements. Hopefully during this time you see some glaring deficiencies that you can make better. For instance, maybe you consistently drink orange juice every morning and never realize just how quickly those calories can add up. 8 ounces of orange juice is approximately 100 to 110 calories. So just by cutting that, you're already about 1/6 of the way to your goal. People tend to get caught up in making big changes all at once, but that hardly ever works. It's simply too much too soon. People overlook small changes that can add up to make a big difference. I'm talking about things such as switching to zero-calorie beverages or using mustard instead of mayonnaise. These are small changes that are a lot harder for you to feel opposed to entirely changing up how you eat. There's a reason why you eat the way you do. If you think about it, there's a reason why you ate the way you did for those 7 days that you were tracking your current eating patterns. It's because you're already comfortable with that style of eating. You probably enjoy some or most of what you eat. It could also be for other reasons such as time constraints. You might want to eat differently, but it's challenging due to your busy schedule. This is why it makes sense to try and make small changes to how you're currently eating. Essentially, you want the way you eat to adapt to your schedule. This is the opposite of what most people do. Most people typically try to make their schedule adapt to their new way of eating. Let's say your new way of eating is something that's going to require you to cook a lot of meals in order to be successful with it. If you typically get takeout 1 to 2 times per day, how well do you think that will work? It won't work very well at all. Instead, make small tweaks. For instance, when you get fast food for lunch, get a 0-calorie soda or water instead of a regular soda. Substitute fries for a healthier option such as fruit, if that's available. Even go as far as substituting the bun for a lettuce wrap, if possible. If such substitutions aren't available, then consider eating a smaller portion of the fries or skipping them entirely. Doing this on its own can easily save up to 600 calories depending on what you cut out. Then for dinner, let's say you go to your favorite local chicken spot. You usually get a roll with your meal, but this time you decide to skip on the roll, and now you saved yourself an extra 100 calories, give or take. Now remember, in this example, you needed to cut back on 620 calories to hit your daily target. Do you now see how easy it can be to hit that target without having to make any real changes to the way in which you normally eat? Yes, it's not exactly the same, I totally get that. But in this example, you're hypothetically eating takeout twice in the same day, and still staying on track. All you have to do is adapt each meal as necessary to ensure you're staying within your budget. And you have a lot of freedom with how you can do that. You could get smaller portion sizes if you still want fries and a drink. You could cut something out entirely if you want. You have options, but most people unfortunately don't consider the options available to them. We automatically get a medium or large drink with a side of fries in most cases and never think twice. All you need to do is put a little forethought into how you're eating, and you can achieve lasting success. This is a smart thing to learn regardless, because life is unpredictable at times. There will be times when you find yourself in a situation where you have to make the most of gas station food or food from a takeout restaurant. It's totally doable if you go about it in a strategic way, instead of just throwing your hands in the air and saying, "Oh well." Not only that, but remember, you can also factor in calories burned from cardio workouts to help you reach your magic number.